paper. Bye, buddy. Lincoln, are you back there? Woo, woo, woo. Let's go. Let's give it up for Lakin. One time for Lakin. All right, well, we are going to look at two ways that Palm Sunday is pulling from the Old Testament and fulfilling some of the deepest longings that we have. We're going to be predominantly in Isaiah 55 today. If you have your Bibles and you want to follow along through that, I will hit Genesis 49. You don't have to turn there, but we're going to see how, Palm Sunday is pulling promises from the Old Testament that we are desperate for. Predominantly, like I said, in Isaiah 55, and then slightly in Genesis 49, because there are some incredible things happening. I think growing up, if you grew up in church, you showed up with the palms, right? You got handed the palm branches, and you just thought, what the heck do these have to do with anything? What does riding on a donkey have to do with anything? Well, it has a lot to do with the story that the Bible has been telling. And I would start this week by saying, I needed this week. And more than that, I need it today. You see, in my wandering, in my looking, in what life did to hurt me in my life, I've looked to a lot of different things to satisfy that ache. And I've looked at different things this week. Different things other than the story of God. I've done it. I looked to a life that I could have had and that God took from me, or that I cost myself, and it caused horrible depression this week. And then here's the fun part. I heaped my trauma onto my 8-year-old son so that his athletic performance may actually heal my trauma. That is fantastic to do. It's awful. And yet here's what's cool. God says, I know, I care, and I'm doing something about it. And it's amazing because everyone knows this. Everyone's lived this feeling. Even pop culture knows this feeling. This will excite some of you Swifties here in the audience. But in 2020, Taylor Swift released a song titled Exile. And it debuted at number 6 out of 100 songs. As of today, it has 750 million with a B streams on Spotify. Why was it so popular? Well, it gave language to an ache we all have. Has life gone how you thought it would? Experienced ache because it's been broken? Why was her song so popular? Because it gave language. And what's fascinating is it used the specific word exile. It's interesting that the secular world even latches on to the depth of the meaning of the word exile. It's an interesting word for us because it is one of, if not the greatest themes in the Old Testament. It is a word that gives language to the human experience we all know. And what's really fascinating, you can connect with this, the video to the song, Swift is clinging to a piano in a storm-tossed sea, reaching with one hand, clinging with another, hoping that something will calm the storm. Have you ever felt like that? Ever felt tossed by the storms of life? Longing for things to be how they're supposed to be? Feeling this internal exile from being whole, like, I know I'm not okay. I know there's wholeness out there, but I am grasping at straws to try to find it. Exile and our return from it is one of God's greatest themes He gives us, living east of Eden. Isaiah describes our exile and tells us why it is here. More than that, Isaiah tells us not to turn to anything but God, including your 8-year-old kid, to heal your trauma. Palm Sunday is the global announcement that our exile has an expiration date. Is that not good news? That is the hope of Palm Sunday, and it pulls forward from the passage we are in today. There's an unimaginable offer of grace. Isaiah 55, 1-5. Come everyone, everybody who is thirsty. Come to the water. And you without silver, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without silver and without cost. Why do you spend silver on what is not food and your wages on what does not satisfy? Listen carefully to me and eat what is good, and you will enjoy the choicest foods. Pay attention, come to me, listen, so that you will live. Because I'm going to make a permanent covenant with you on the basis of faithful kindness of David. Since I have made him a witness to the peoples, a leader and commander for the peoples, so you will summon a nation you do not know, and nations you do not know will run to you, for the Lord your God, even the Holy One of Israel, has glorified you. There's a lot of language of purchasing, of physical hunger. If you see in Isaiah 55, if you're looking at your Bible, it's indented, it's written a little bit different. If you see that, that means it's poetry. That means it's song, and that should interpret the way we read it. He is painting a word picture to grab hold of spiritual reality, right? That's what that means. We have to learn how to read our Bible. So I'm not going to take thirst literally. What it means is the longing of your soul to be whole. And what does he say? You are busted up. I know it. You don't have the money to purchase it. Come to me, because I'm going to do it based on who I am. We have to know the biblical context of Isaiah 55 as well to really grab hold of what's happening. You see, Isaiah is a warning of what is coming because we live against God. As a whole, that's what Isaiah is saying. This is before Daniel is taken into exile. This is when the Babylonians are burning their way through the known world, and it's coming. And Isaiah says, get right or it's going to take you away. And what's really cool in Isaiah is the first 39 chapters are all about the reality that the feeling of exile is coming for everybody. But the beauty of God is that he doesn't leave us there. You see, the message of chapters 40 to 66 is the message that our exile will have an expiration date. He tells you it's going to be hard. That your choice to live against God is going to create an exile in your life where things aren't how they're supposed to be, but God. Chapters 40 to 66. So this chapter 55 explodes in poetry and song to put language to our longing. The language of thirst and hunger and poverty describe that exile of the human experience. He is saying we are bankrupt spiritually and desperate for something bigger than our fear and regret and emptiness to come. Does that not resonate with anybody in this room? The turn of verse 2 is the reality of everyone under the sun who longs for hope. The question is this: what are you clinging to for hope in your exile? I said this week, I have chose to cling to things that can never satisfy this very week. And yet, what does he do? He brings me here to remind me who he is. It's amazing. You see, it's not what you think will end the ache. I know people that know the Bible inside and out. But on a Tuesday, they're functional atheists. You can know all of the Bible story and be a functional atheist during the week. You can know nothing about the Bible, like the thief on the cross. You think he'd been to seminary? You think he knew the way to parse out a Greek verb? If you've been to seminary, you know what you said. If not, that sounds like verbal throw up. But I'm telling you, parsing is a thing, and it's awful. I took Greek 1 and 2, passed them, have no clue how to read the Greek, and said it's a hard pass on the Hebrew. I'm going to sit that one out. I won't get my MDiv, give me my MA, and I'm going to peace out of here. You see, what do you cling to end your exile? What do you think if I just had this, if I just had this one person in my life, if I just had this one thing go a certain way, if this hadn't happened back there, if so-and-so hadn't failed me back here, then I'd have the life that would make me feel good. You see, he's saying, what story of reality are you truly believing that will heal you? That's why he says in verse 3, he specifically says, pay attention and come to me. Listen so that you will live. Why does he say that? It sounds strange in the midst of conveying and identifying with our brokenness. Why does he say pay attention? It's very interesting and important because we are train wrecks. Our natural bent as human beings is not to be broken and go running to the Lord. Our bent spiritually is to be broken and run to things far away from God. Is that not true? In brokenness, my fleshly default is not, Lord, you're good, I trust you, everything's going to be fine, I believe in what you're doing. Is that anybody's response? No, we're like a computer. We have a default, and all of our defaults are brutally bad. Pay attention, he says. Pay attention to what or who it is right now that you are believing that if you just had this, it would stop the ache. Because he knows our hearts are bent away from him. He says, listen to me. I'm telling you how to be whole. Don't listen to other voices. Do you want the ache to stop? Do you want your tears to have an expiration date? I'm telling you, I've done everything necessary for it, and I promise it's going to be so good one day. You can't even imagine it, but you got to cling to me. That's why the language of Revelation continually says, to the one who endures to the end, to the one who endures to the end, you got to grab hold of it, and you can't just do it once in your life. You've got to grab hold to it on a Tuesday. You've got to grab hold to it again on a Tuesday afternoon. You are prone to wander. Pay attention. Pay attention. He knows the way and he's holding it out, but you've got to cling to it in the midst of the storm. And he says, seek me because I'm worth it. Verses 6 to 11. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call to him while he is near. Let the wicked one abandon his way and the sinful one his thoughts. Let him return to the Lord so he may have compassion on him and to our God, for he will freely forgive. That is scandalous. Freely. He goes on to say that this is the Lord's declaration. For as heaven is higher than the earth, so my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. For just as the rain and the snow fall from heaven and do not return there without doing their job, I'm providing seed to sow and food to eat, so my word that comes from my mouth will not return to me empty, but it will accomplish what it set out to do. This is really cool as I studied this. That's a joke. Okay, as I studied people who studied this, I can't say that I skipped out on Hebrew and then say there's something cool in the Hebrew. There are great scholars who took Hebrew that I follow and listen to. Okay. So as people who actually took Hebrew taught me this week, there's a very cool thing he does with the word for seek. See, it sounds strange where he says, seek the Lord while he may be found, call to him while he's near. It makes it sound like God will be there for a little bit, but man, he's going to bail at some point. That's not what it means. You see, it's not the idea of looking for what is lost. It is the idea of committing to what you already know is there. Does that make sense? It's not the idea of grasping at straws. You're in a dark room and maybe God's there, but if I don't do it now, he's going to bail on me. That's not what it means. What he's saying, it is the idea of committing to what you already know is there. We aren't grasping at straws, feeling around in the dark That isn't what seek means here. It means choosing from the causal core of who you are to cling to what you know is there. Here's a better way to put it. This is the language of being in a crowded room when you were a kid. Maybe you went to a Christmas party with your parents and you ran around for a little bit and it's crowded and it's noisy and you can't find mom and dad, but what? You know they're there. And so you seek after mom and dad until you find them. Because you know mom and dad are there. You wandered off and you got scared. You got drugged to Marshall's as that little kid and you hid in the clothes rack like every kid does, and you hid for too long, and you pop out and mom ain't there. You know mom's in Marshall's because she's at Marshall's. My wife is at Marshall's so much. Oh my gosh. What is there? Am I missing something? Is it though? Maybe not for me. Maybe I've just missed it. But it's that idea, right? You've hid. You're at the party. You're at the store. You hide. You go to look at something. And you turn around and mom's not there. Now you know mom is there. And so what do? You seek after them. That's what it means. And how do we come to him in response to this incredible offer? You come as you are. But here's where people leave it. We love the come as you are part. We love the, hey, he accepts me as I am. And we actually take the Bible and we twist it so that he affirms who I am in my busted upness. But what he's saying is you come to me as you are, but you don't stay there. Why? Because in a right response to this scandalous grace, you are like, I can't be busted up anymore in the presence of a holy God. You see, he says come as you are, but you don't stay there. There is no cheap grace described in the Bible. Wicked means guilty before the law. And here's what we do when we read our Bibles. We think of that person we know that's really sinning, right? We read wicked and broken and we're like, yeah, that's Steve next door. That ain't me. No. Read yourself rightly into the story. I can tell you I am the wicked. 100%. I am not the hero of Isaiah and Genesis, as we're going to see. I read myself in as the wicked and the broken. That is how we all come to the cross, but we leave changed. The New Testament picks up on this legal language. That's what's cool about it. It means guilty before the law. We are justified before the judge because of Christ's faithfulness given to us. That is ridiculously scandalous. If you know yourself that Christ's righteousness before the law is imputed to you as you stand there doing nothing to fix your own mess, that is absurd. Isn't it scandalous if you're honest with yourself and you know what you've done and what you run to? That's amazing. When God the Father looks at you, when you're saved, he doesn't see your mistakes. He sees the perfection of his Son. Man, that is unreal. That is unbelievable. And that is the offer of hope in our exile. We are undeserving and guilty in these verses, period. But God. Ephesians 2 should hit you and leave you in awe. And you were dead in your trespasses and sins in which you previously walked, right? There's a turn according to the ways of this world. It's the way you previously walked. But God who is rich in mercy because of his great love that he had for us, made us alive with Christ even though we were absolutely dead. His ways are not ours. He doesn't treat us like we deserve. Thank God he's not a father like I am to my sons. Thank God for that. That sometimes their performance is what bases my right response to them. Thank God he is not like that. How does he act? He says that while we were still sinners, he died for us. That is the power of the language he uses again in verse 10. For just as the rain and snow fall from heaven and do not return there without saturating the earth, and don't miss this, making it germinate and sprout, and providing seed to sow that turns into food to eat. This is really cool if you hold on through this. It's a metaphor that he does it all, the saving and the growing to bear fruit in your life. The rain is the hope he offers us through the gospel. It provides the seed. And here's what's really cool. He doesn't just provide the gospel and you pray the sinner's prayer and he gives you a pat on the back and says, go get him, champ. He says, not only do I save, I'm the very cause of what bears fruit in your life. You want to change on a Tuesday? I'm actually what does that. I love one of Tim Keller's quotes. He says, the gospel is not the ABCs of the Christian life. It is the A to Z. You never move on from the gospel. Isaiah is saying it doesn't just save you as the seed. It actually causes you to turn into a completely new person every day of your life. You see the coolness of the language where it's, I provide the seed and I provide the bread. I provide the seed and I'm in complete control of every moment of that seed's life as it germinates, as it sprouts, as it turns into something consumable, into the process that makes it consumable. He does it all. There is no pull yourself up by your own bootstraps Christianity. It doesn't exist in the Bible. He wills and turns our wayward hearts to himself. He gives us a new heart through the Holy Spirit to live in our newfound freedom. That's why I say Christianity is not the deposit of new information into your head. It is not an intellectual pursuit only. It is an intellectual pursuit, but that's not its goal. The goal of Christianity is a heart rehabilitation program. No matter how far we run, we cannot outrun the grace of the gospel. C.S. Lewis famously described God as the hound of heaven to illustrate his reluctant conversion to Christianity, emphasizing God's persistent pursuit of him. He is the hound of heaven. If you've been a mess like me, you echo the words of Lewis, that God is tenacious in saving sinners. And here's the turn. It is what creation longs for. You see, it's what you really long for, verses 12 to 13. So he's described our exile. He's described our brokenness. He's described our incapable ability to save ourselves. And he says this, you will indeed, for sure, guaranteed through the gospel, you will indeed go out with joy and be peacefully guided. The mountains and the hills will break into singing before you, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. Instead of the thorn bush, a cypress will come up. Instead of the briar, a myrtle will come up. This will stand as a monument for the Lord, an everlasting sign that he will not be destroyed. So here's the cool thing. He said his ways are not our ways, right? He said his ways are above our ways. What is his plan that we can't even imagine? It's what he can do in our exile to end it. You see, in our moment of pain, we truly long just for an easing of the circumstance, don't we? I think, man, if God would just step in today and give me some healthy boundaries with my kid, I would actually have a better day today. That's what I think. And God says, no. You need that, but my way is even bigger. See, I'm going to heal one day the trauma that caused you to be a jacked up dad. His ways are not my ways. You see, we only want an alleviation of discomfort, don't we? I want the discomfort to stop. And God said, no. I'm going to actually kill the very thing that caused your discomfort. Is that not amazing? Here's the secret we're being let in on. It's that very thing. He is not simply out to end your pain in the moment. He is out to end the very thing that caused it. That's amazing. We don't think like that. I want a Band-Aid on the pain in the moment. He said, no. I'm going to destroy the very thing that caused it. That's incredible. It's my favorite promise of the Bible. He says, on that day when I come back, in Hosea, he says, when I come back, I will remove the names of the idols from your mouth. What that means is there is a day coming where you won't even remember the name of the thing that you clung to instead of him that broke you. How about that? You won't remember the name of cancer again. Are you kidding me? What a hope. And here's what he's saying. Every inch of this earth is under a curse, even the leaves of the trees. Romans 8:22 says this, for we know that the whole creation has been groaning together with labor pains until now. All creation groans, that is, all created things suffer a common misery, being in a state of pain and disorder. Everything is under a curse. Everything. The trees. The pathetic garden I try to plant. It's pathetic. We tried planting an apple tree. That thing got ate up by some rust disease. Like, what the heck? Because even the leaves of the earth are under a curse. That's what he's saying in Isaiah 55. My ways are bigger than yours. I'm going to tell you what I'm about to do. I'm about to make a whole new world where you don't remember pain's name anymore. Heaven won't be this ethereal place out there somewhere. No, he said, I am going to bring it down. This very earth will be made new. This very body will actually be made to fit your new body. You're not even going to be made new so that you fit into the new heavens. No, the language of the New Testament says the new earth is actually going to be formed to fit you. I saw a video of a little boy stricken with the disease that made his face absolutely full of tumors. You know what this promise means? It means for his mom, it means for him, it means the reality that he is going to be so perfect one day that God is going to make this earth new to fit around that little boy. His ways are not our ways. And thank God for that. You see, the promise of hope in Isaiah 55 is that when the Creator comes, the mountains and the hills will break into singing before him, and the trees of the field will clap their hands. And don't miss this. Instead of the thorn bush, a tree will come up. Does the language of thorns remind anyone anything from the book of Genesis? It was the curse of sin that made them part of our life. Genesis 3:18, God declares that the ground will produce thorns and thistles as a consequence of Adam's disobedience. I would almost say Adam and Eve, she messed up, but that idiot stood there the whole time she was being tempted. I believe the first sin was a passive husband. That's just me. Hey, the serpent's lying to my wife, bro, I'm going to chill. Sounds good, hon. Oh, you should really think about it. Or what's he doing? Just, hey, I named that bird. Honey, you see that? What an idiot. And what's the curse? Thorns will come up instead of what was meant to be. And what's fascinating is when the king comes, where else do we see thorns in the Bible? Easter. A crown of what was placed on his head? Why that detail? Because he wanted us to know that in Christ the curse from the garden is broken. Is that not incredible? And even better, Eden is coming because Christ came to kill what broke the first one. You see, that's the promise of hope of the palm branches being waved on Palm Sunday. That we are all longing for a new Jerusalem to come, are we not? You see, Isaiah wrote this book directly to the people in Jerusalem. shattered by exile, to give hope that in the midst of it a better Jerusalem was coming. That is the promise of the palms. That in the presence of the King, even the trees will clap their hands. That's why the palms were waved. Pretty cool, huh? They weren't just something they had laying around. Some guy's cart of palm branches had crashed, and they just picked them up, right? No. God said, I'm going to fulfill every single inch of what I said will happen. I said the trees will clap their hands. Trees are clapping their hands in the presence of the King. That's the promise of the palms. The book of Mark says that Jesus took on every Old Testament prophecy to fulfill and show that he is God. Palm Sunday is saturated in his declaration that he is God. There are very specific things from specific places being fulfilled that day. Mark 11:7-8 says this, they brought the colt to Jesus, as we read earlier, and threw their clothes on it, and he sat on it. Many people spread their clothes on the road, and others spread leafy branches cut from the fields. Every detail of this is not just something where he just wanted to make sure he got it right. No. He's pulling everything you need for hope in a broken world forward. You see, there's another incredible prophecy about when the King comes, and he will come on a donkey. Isaiah 49:10-11 says this, the scepter will not depart from Judah, or the staff from between his feet, until he whose right it is comes, and the obedience of people belongs to him. And what does he say this king will come on? He says he ties his donkey to a vine, and the colt of his donkey to the choice vine. He washes his clothes in wine, and his robes in the blood of grapes. Here's what's really incredible about what he is saying. The gentle king is declaring that I am the one who alone has the right to the throne and has the power to break the curse. He has tied his colt to come and make all things new. Here's the hope of him taking his rightful place. Remember the words of Genesis 49. It sounds really weird. He washes his clothes in wine and his robes in the blood of grapes. Is that anybody's life verse? Right? We love that. I mean, like, what are we talking about here? Well, what does it mean? And what does it have to do with the hope of the palms? Well, here's what's cool. Wine was the symbol of joy. Wine represents joy in the Bible. So let's reread that into Genesis 49. He washes his clothes in joy. His robes will be saturated in joy. The promise here is that in his kingdom, joy will be so abundant, you will be saturated in it. There will be no more regret, sadness, funerals, mistakes, unmet longings of the heart. Your present suffering has an expiration date. Praise God for that. Your exile is going to end. You may not see it all in this life. You may not have that aha moment. I get why what I went through when I was 15 happened. It may not come in this life, but it is coming one day. Hold fast, endure to the end, because he's going to get you home to where you will be saturated in joy. You won't know misery or pain or regret. It's coming. It's coming. That's why I read Isaiah 55:12 this way. For you will go out from a world that isn't how it's supposed to be, with himself, to be saturated in joy and be led forth by the Lord himself. The mountains and the hills will break into shouts of joy before you, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. You see why the palms? Because he said, when I come, tied to a donkey, riding a colt, in the presence of me, the trees will clap their hands. Why the palms? Because God came 2,000 years ago to win a war you could not win, and to get you to a home you cannot even dream of. Like I said in the beginning, Taylor Swift's video to her song Exile is her clinging to a piano tossed by the sea. This will surprise you, but she's looking for the love of another man to cure her exile. What a twist of events for a Taylor Swift song. A man left her. She's looking for another one to satisfy her. She's partially right. We are in exile. But she is wrong in how we seek to behold and end it. Christ is what you long for. And his victory to end your exile is what you long for. Look to him to get you home. Pay attention to what it is you are clinging to for hope. Pay attention to the story of reality. You believe that if I just had this, my exile would end. Pay attention and cling to the cross. Lord, thank you for your promise. Thank you that it's not an empty promise. Thank you that it is not empty, that you truly came 2,000 years ago to fulfill Genesis 49, to fulfill Isaiah 55, and in the presence of you, even the trees under a curse will clap their hands in the presence of the one who made them. Let us cling to the hope in our own exile.